Hello and welcome to the Buckets and Tea NBA show. I'm your host, Cathryn Naiker. Thanks so much for tuning into this week's episode. Today we have an amazing special guest for you. He is an NBA artist, illustrator, extraordinaire. You are likely familiar with all his work with Fred VanVleet. I'm so happy to have him here. It's Casey Bannerman. How you doing?
Thank you so much for having me, Cathryn. Really appreciate you. I'm great. I'm doing as well as probably anyone can hope in around these times, you
I
know?
mean, amen to that. Like, I personally have officially recovered from COVID. I got sick. I was
Oh, wow.
sick for 3 weeks. It was not cute, but we made it through the other
Yeah.
side.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I'm one of those people that you see the memes about that somehow has dodged it all this time. But I was talking to a buddy this morning and I was like, I might have had it actually. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that food poisoning was actually COVID.
Oh,
You never
really?
know.
Are you
Yeah.
oh, I might have had it early March 2020 before
Yeah, no,
anyone
I think
knew
it was like,
anything?
no. Well, maybe. Yeah. Who knows, man? All I can say is I got my vaccination, so I'm good. I'm good.
Yes, good for you. And so have I. So, it would
Yeah.
have been a lot worse without it.
Yeah.
And I'm all about that.
Yeah.
Of course, I want to talk to you about Fred VanVleet, all your collaborations. I kind of
Our
said my
boy.
little, yeah, I said in my little email, Fred bets on himself, but you two bet on each other. Like, you two
Yeah.
have a really lovely collaboration and I imagine a bit of a friendship too. Tell me
Yeah.
how that got started and how you got to work with him.
Yeah. Well, the Buddy Cop movie is dropping summer 2023. The
The
two
other
of
guys,
us.
part two.
Yeah, the other guy's part two. Yeah. Subtitle Bet on Each Other.
Yeah.
It's gonna be really cute. No, it's been great. Honestly, I can't say enough amazing things about Fred. Most of all of the good things you've heard about him are true. He really is that genuine of a person, and really, I owe a lot of my success today to him reaching out to me those years ago. So I was involved in an art show in 2019 season that the MLSE, the Raptors put on, and it was like a Raptors art show. They did it in Liberty Village, and yeah, one of the pieces I did was of Fred. It was like a split head thing, and then there was like money coming out. It was a bet on yourself motif, I guess, and I took a photo of it and I just posted it online. And he reached out to me via DM and he was like, this is really dope. I want this for my clothing line. And that's how the relationship kicked off. That piece never made it to the clothing
No.
line, but yeah.
That's amazing. And this is gonna sound so nerdy of me, but
Yeah.
I remember that event and I really wanted to go because I heard that Nick Nurse was gonna be there, and I'm like a Nick Nurse lover.
Yeah.
And I
I was
saw
on a
but
panel with Nick.
I was so jealous. I was actually working in Halifax at the time because when I'm not doing this, I'm a TV writer and I was working for
Yes.
This Hour
Yeah.
Has 22 Minutes. Shout out, very random shout out.
Yeah.
And so I
Yeah.
was in Halifax and I couldn't go. And I was online. I was looking at these photos of Nick Nurse drinking red wine, looking at art. And I was so jealous. Anyway, that's the most
I know,
nerdy thing
right?
I could say. But
I
that's
know.
so cool. I love that that's how you got your start. And since, you've done all these awesome things, you actually today dropped this amazing DeMar DeRozan, Raptors
Yeah.
Compton
Thank you.
jersey. Okay. This isn't on my list, but has he seen it?
Yeah. This one, I don't know if he's seen this one. I've not shared it with
I
him.
just dropped today as we're recording. So,
Yeah. But I did one that was a Bulls themed one.
mm.
And yes, he has seen it, and it has arrived at his family's home in California. So he
Oh,
got
I
one.
love that.
Well, he got a few, but we dropped them because I did it in the Bulls red, but he wanted a blue one, and so we made him a blue one, and we sent it out. So it's really dope, and hopefully, he's gonna sign it, take a picture with it, and who
All the
knows,
good
right?
stuff.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
just,
You
I
just
guess
put
you
it
send
into
it and you just hope that they'll do those things.
mostly, yeah. I started my career sort of after DeMar had left, right? So
Mm-hmm.
2018, 2019. So I didn't really get to link up with him at all or do any work with him, but obviously, like any Raptors fan, I'm a huge DeMar fan. And
Yeah.
yeah, no, it was really dope. And they said that they were going to sign it, send it back, take a photo. Really loved the piece, so I was very gracious of him. And then hopefully, I can link up with him when he's here in Toronto next week. Next week, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
that'd
yeah.
be
On the
awesome.
3rd, and give him this Raptors themed one. You know,
Yeah.
which I don't know what the protocol is going to be on him taking a photo with that one, because you know he obviously is paid by a different organization now. But yeah,
Yeah, I mean, hopefully they're not too uptight about that kind of
I
thing. I
don't think
mean,
so. They haven't been. I did that thing. You know what? Actually, I did that thing for Norm when he was on the Blazers. So
oh, that's right.
I did a. I should have explained it. I did a jersey of his time in Toronto, which it was on a red North jersey, the chevron one that we won the championship in. And it was just all different moments from, you know, his time here in Toronto. And yeah, it was really dope. And he took a picture of that when he was under the Trailblazers payroll.
Yeah. Well, if anyone gives you a hard time, just mention that. Just be
I
like,
will.
well,
I
hey,
will
Norm
for
Powell
sure.
had the Trailblazers had no issues, you know?
Yeah, I know.
Just a
I'll bring it up.
little subtle
Yeah.
passive aggressive. Like,
That's the best way to do anything. Just a little
yeah.
passive aggressive jab. Yeah, I think so. Well, that's funny. Norm didn't have a
Um,
problem.
yeah. Well, hopefully you don't need to use that, but it's there if you need it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You did this really amazing shirt for Fred that came out earlier, maybe like a month or two ago, where it says undrafted.
Yeah,
You've got the rolling of the dice. It says all-star. You know, you're
yeah.
really trying to help him with his all-star campaign. Yes, hold it
Here
up
it
for
is.
anybody watching on YouTube. You can see it. It's such a cool shirt.
Yeah.
Um, it's got such a like 80s like casino vibe, but
Yeah, that's what I was going for. I was going for like 80s, 90s action movie. So
yes, exactly. Yeah, it's
yeah,
very like if there were dice in Terminator 2.
100%. I was a big
That's the
Terminator
look.
2 fan as a kid. Like I had
I
the
I
Terminator 2.
love that movie. I actually rewatched it like recently. That's why
Really?
it was like top
It's
of
on
my
my
mind.
list. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's
it
a
was like
good rewatch.
I had the inappropriate, like, and I mean, like the toys themselves weren't inappropriate, but sort of like knowing that that was an R-rated movie, and I was like a 6-year-old with Terminator toys. You know what I mean?
Right? Yeah.
Yeah,
There were
it's pretty
some
funny.
scenes I was way too young to watch, but you know what? I turned out okay. I turned out
Yeah,
okay.
man, I'm great. Look at me now. My art's like all people screaming with fire everywhere, so I'm doing well.
I wanted to ask you like what inspired you to do something not just with Fred but specifically around this push for him to be an all-star this year.
I just wanted to. I mean, like this is going to sound really like a kind of a boring answer, but it's honestly the truth of most of what I do. I just wanted to do something cool, and that's my motivation first and foremost. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's. I mean, at least I hope that resonates with people who you know are followers and supporters of mine. That first and foremost, I just think of like what would I think is cool to do, and then I figure out like, okay, how do I get this to people, and how do I make it actually into something? And then also, I sort of thought that everybody needed a bit of a pick me up, like during like everything that's going on right now. You know, I think we're all exhausted about talking about it, so
Mm-hmm,
there's
mm-hmm.
no need to even go into it. But I wasn't noticing that the organization, who I'm sure have their hands full, was really doing anything other than sort of the regular social media push. So I just approached Fred and his
Mm-hmm.
team, and
That
we
and Matt Devlin's call.
yeah, Matt.
Freddie
Shout
All
out to Matt and
Star.
yeah. Freddie All Star. Remember when he was doing it for Kyle Lowry and it was like every single shot, like vote for
Yes.
Kyle Lowry 3 point, like every single time. So shout out to Matt. It did get a bit exhausting, but that's what you need to do to remind people to vote all the time.
No,
But yeah.
absolutely.
So that was it. And then I just we came up with the concept completely together, which was a lot of fun. We had a lot of different iterations. So a little peek behind the curtain, one of which was the picture of Fred with like the broken tooth after the game
Yes.
in the finals. The other one I pitched, which I mean, I don't think that they sort of laughed at it, but I don't think that they really wanted to do it. Was remember the Laugh Now Cry Later Drake video where Drake is like he's in like the 1996 like draft outfit. He looks like He basically looks like he's being drafted for the NBA draft, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So that is what I wanted to do. I was like the undrafted all-star, and then we had Drake underneath, like, because he's got the likeness to Drake. He looks so much like him. They didn't love that one. They did laugh, but they didn't want to do it. And then, then we came to this with the dice and the, making it look like an action movie. And it was super, super dope. A lot of fun to make.
That's really cool. Cause like in my mind, like I didn't know if like Fred like calls you or just like texts you and it's just like, I need a shirt. I'm going to be an all-star this year.
Yeah.
Like, and then he'll like literally say like, bet on yourself or like in the,
yeah. He just signs off with that.
He just signs off with it.
Yeah. All right, Casey, good talking to you. Bet on yourself. Click. No, not really. It's not like that at all. Fred and I have a very professional relationship. He does not just text me while I'm sitting on the couch. I wish that were true. People say like, oh, like, how is this like? I'm like, I don't know. Do you know somebody who like maybe texts you back once a week? Like, that's pretty much what it's like. He's a professional basketball player is basically what I'm getting at. But all that considered, he is fairly involved in things, like in terms of like getting his input out there, and like Fred does a little bit of everything. It really astounds me, all of the different things that he's involved in. Competitive gaming, then charity stuff, and then this clothing line. He's making an all-star push. He's playing like some of the highest usage rates in the league right now. He's a real Renaissance man.
I don't know if people have seen, but you and Freddy collaborated on this backpack together. And it's really stunning. Like, it's a really, really nice backpack. Yes, you can see if you're watching on YouTube, you can see it in the corner here. It's such a cool bag. And that was for a charity related thing that you two were working on. I don't know if you wanted to talk about that a bit more.
Yeah, it was for Penny Appeal Canada. They are a Muslim faith-based charity that does work all over, regardless, non-denominational, I guess, in the work that they do. And the backpacks we did were just like something. Basically, the concept was, people have handed out backpacks before, and that's great. That's very important work to do. But myself and Fred wanted to come up with something that was like cool and wouldn't be like a target on somebody's back as well. Like, it was like, we're going to do like a limited drop for this. Like, and in terms of like, we had chenille patches on it, all embroidered. Like, it was all like done to make it look the coolest, not just to sort of, I'm sure there's a better term than phone it in, but like, not just to get a backpack and then hand it out. But
like, it's really not just a blue bag. Like, it's got got his number on it, and it's got like all these really nice details. I think there's one with Fred and like these like little lightning bolts coming out of his eye.
100%. Right? I turned out great. Terminator 2.
Yes, you turned out great. But it's that famous expression from the finals, like almost that like that war cry almost,
Yeah.
Like, that face instantly. And I agree. Like, it's the kind of thing, it's like you want to have that bag.
100%.
Which is a really cool approach.
Yeah. And then we did, unfortunately, it didn't get, just because of everything that happened with the league and the COVID protocols and everything like that. But we had a winter program as well, where we handed out toques, socks, and gloves. All of those were designed with that same principle in mind. Like, the gloves had like a little FVV that if you put your hands up like that, it would show the whole FVV. The toque, just making sure you're like, if you're going to do something, you might as well do it right.
You're warm. You got to be all nice and toasty. I mean, look, Fred is also from a cold climate. So I feel like he knows, he gets it.
He totally gets it, man.
Yeah, he wasn't like coming to Toronto being like, I don't know how to dress.
Yeah.
Like, I think like DeMar DeRozan, like he saw snow for the first time here and stuff like that.
Yeah. Which is wild, right? You hear those things and you're like, oh yeah, I guess like layering isn't something that everybody would just inherently know. or
Yeah.
like don't wear Chuck Taylors in the snow. Like,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. No, it's true.
So
I also wanted to ask you, like, you talked about getting your start in the 2018-2019 season when Fred
yeah,
saw your work.
yeah.
What inspired you to do art and illustration specifically around basketball and specifically around the Raptors?
It was like one of those things that just sort of happened more than I decided for it to
Hmm.
happen. I was that kid drawing in class my whole life for sure. My parents are entrepreneurs that started up a small business in a like moderate sized city, Peterborough,
Hmm.
Ontario, and for the first anybody who's around that type of life understands that like for the first like 10-15 years it's really like tough to have any extra money around. So all I had
Hmm.
was like pens and whatever, and I was drawing on the back of old scraps of paper. But I guess like nobody really saw that as like a vocation for me. Like, you know what I mean? Like in terms of like teachers being like, that's awesome that you're good at drawing, but like you may want to have a plan B, right? And then you hear
Hmm.
that enough and you don't think that your plan A is a plan A anymore, like when people
Hmm.
keep telling you. So I just sort of pursued like, all right, go to college. I don't know what I'll do. I'll take like a general arts degree. Maybe I'll apply to law school after. I don't know. None of it interested me. And then that leads to mental health problems. And then I struggled with addiction for a while. And at about 30, I sort of like took a look, which was 2017, I think. Yeah, 30 would have been 2017 for me. And it was like, well, shit, I got to sort of figure out what I'm going to do with my life. And the only thing that I loved doing was drawing and making art. So I decided I was going to do that. But even then, I was like, it's got to be something practical. Like I'll make logos or design websites. I don't know, something like that. I can do brochures for travel companies. Who knows? But because I hadn't like pursued it professionally for so long, I was a bit rusty. So I was just practicing like drawing again. I was watching a lot of basketball. So I was just like, like I guess I'll draw Kyle or I'll draw Kawhi when he came. And then, 2018, 2019 comes around and then there's that art show and I posted my stuff up on Instagram and some people said, "Hey, like we kind of like your stuff. Like, do you want to be in this art show?" And I sort of my eyes widened. I was like, okay, not only going to be in this art show, but I'm going to help them with setup and tear down and everything. And I met a bunch of people and then Fred reaches out to me. And then it was pretty much around when Fred reached out to me that I sort of went, this could be like this could be like my full-time job if I'm serious about it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I can't treat it like, oh, I can get up at 11 and work 2 hours a day and only work sometimes. Like I traded my 9 to 5 for a 24/7. I made sure that I
Hmm.
was always because it was going to take that much extra work to make it work. And I knew that the alternative was where I was before. Like that was, my struggles with mental health, my struggles with alcohol, my struggles with addiction. And I was like, I can't go back there. So this is the way I have to go. And, a little bit of thankfully it worked out for me, but it worked out for me because I worked really hard at it too. A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
Honestly, like your story is super inspiring, and I really love it. Like I think it's so important to just kind of like, I don't know, like sit in your truth, if that makes sense, and just you
Yeah,
know have that moment where you kind of evaluate your life and move forward with things that you're really passionate about and really make you happy. I think that's so great, and
yeah.
congratulations on your sobriety too.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, the other
My
thing is
my
I
brother,
like
I have
to.
a older brother, Jason, shout out. He's 5 years sober now, and we're all really proud
Oh,
of
dope.
him.
Good for him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think that like in the beginning, it's not something you really want to like put out there because it's like there's still that little bit of shame attached with it. But then once I realized that like um, just sort of normalizing, like just putting it out there, like, hey, this is just like like not entirely random, but kind of random thing that happens to people and people have to deal with. And part of the reason that people struggle with dealing with it is that there's not enough dialogue out there about like how this is just some part of life for a lot of people. And yeah, and then at that point I was like, yeah, sure, whatever, it's something that I'm actually quite proud of having dealt with and like not only done and then been successful at what I wanted to do. It was an incredible trade-off. Let's say that.
Yeah. The trade-off was really worth it. Yeah, no, that's great. I mean,
Really
hey, it's Bell Let's Talk week this week. We're kind of doing it the day after, but why not? I mean, I have a similar story in that I was working in broadcasting doing like administrative work, and it wasn't working out for me. I wasn't happy doing it. And then I was getting laid off, and I was like, wait, if the safe thing isn't safe,
right?
I should really go for it, right? And so around the age of 30, I kind of had to have that whole sit down with myself, and I was like, you know what, I want to be a writer. I love writing. This is the thing that makes me happy, and then started to forge ahead with that, and it's paid off. But you're right, it is a 24/7. It is trading the 9 to 5 for a 24/7.
Oh, 100%. And it never stops. But it's stuff that you love, so it's whatever, right? Like I'm not complaining at all, but it is a 24/7. Like I'm running off to like Mississauga to go drop something off, and at 10 p.m. on a Sunday or some shit or whatever, or all of a sudden they're like, I need this like done right now, and you're like, okay. But I think that's like I'm sure it happens to a lot of people, but it's a bit of a generational thing. We sort of like our age bracket sort of dealt with that like weird transitory like in terms of like everybody told me like go to college, go to university, and that's sort of transitioning a lot right now because when I was younger, it was like go to university, get a good job. And then when I was like go to university, got out at like 2009. The financial crisis was in full force.
Yes, that's the thing. It's like you were taught, that there's these steps that you follow, and then you follow the steps, and then you're like, wait, the steps don't exist anymore. The steps blew up, and I'm just standing here now.
Yeah, you're standing on like one of those like half demolished buildings with like the steps are half off, and it just leads nowhere. Like I mean, just like falling off a cliff.
It's like the movie Inception where like the buildings just crumble and you hear that music.
Yeah, so if you ever see me flexing online sometimes, that's why. Like every time, like it's not really much of a flexer, but sometimes I am because I'm like, you know what? I would kill to see that teacher again and just be like, the little doodles in the back of your math class, they did work out. Just by the way, they did work out.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Were you a Raptors fan even as a kid?
Yeah, I was. I think it was an age group, like an age bracket thing. Like I was a big fan of Jurassic Park. Honestly, that's probably where it started a bit. That came out in 1993, I think. So I would have been, I don't know, 6 or 7 at that time. It was like right in on that. Also, Michael Jordan was huge, right? Obviously, early 90s. I had the Bulls starter jacket. I think I had the flu games. No, I definitely did not have the flu games, actually. My friend had the flu games, and I would steal them from him. Yeah, because I was like, my family did not have that type of money.
I'm convinced that the Raptors marketed themselves to kids like the way cigarette companies do. Like we were hooked, like we were hooked. Like I'm convinced they marketed the Raptors to us the exact same way because I remember falling in love for all the same reasons. Yeah, it's wild. Anyways, we're gonna switch gears here a little bit. We're gonna talk a little NBA, and then we're gonna talk a little current Raptors stuff because that's what we typically do on this show. And I think it's gonna be fun for you to talk about the NBA and other stuff, right?
Yeah, of course. I love that.
Okay, so I mean, I'm kind of tired of talking about Ben Simmons, but the big news this week is that oh my God, was that me? How unprofessional. Anyway.
That's okay.
The big news is that James Harden is now in these rumors. There's rumors he's unhappy with the Nets. There's rumors that there could be a Ben Simmons deal. Okay, I have a lot to say about this. But I'm going to start with you. How do you think the Nets might pursue James Harden or not pursue James Harden at the trade deadline?
I don't know. I mean, I can't say I'm terribly surprised, like for a lot of reasons. I mean, obviously he's denied this, and as he should and would, because this is not something he would want
Yeah,
coming
these are
out.
all rumors, and yeah.
Yeah. And exactly, they're all rumors. They may not be true, but if they are true, which I believe them to be, I'm not terribly surprised. He came from Houston, where he no doubt has this incredible estate property with, like, in the warm weather, going to Brooklyn, which is so dope. We all love Brooklyn, but it's cold. His space will not be that big. And look, it's not what he signed up for. One of the three stars there is just not playing home games because he refuses to get vaccinated, and the state laws don't allow him to play. Although I'm not sure where it stands now, right? Like, it's sort of like back and forth. But the funny thing is about this is that I was thinking about it, and wasn't it like a year ago, like around today, that he was traded to Brooklyn from Houston?
Yeah, I think last week might have been the 1 year anniversary.
Yeah,
You're right. We're only just past a year. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And the Sixers at the time wanted to trade for him, but did not want to give up Ben Simmons, correct?
That's right. They were in James Harden for Ben Simmons trades a year ago.
And they said no. And now the discussions are coming back up, and they're like, well, actually, and basically Houston got a salary dump and like 4 first rounders for it. So it's whatever. It's not like they got out with nothing. But I definitely, I don't know. I think that the Ben Simmons Harden trade I think it makes sense for Philly. I don't know that it's like, I don't want to say it's a lateral move for Brooklyn, except for the fact, I don't know. In my head, I was just thinking, what about Kyrie for Ben Simmons? Kyrie seems to be a thorn,
Yeah.
because
No,
then Kyrie can play home games. He's a way better fit with Embiid, and then Simmons is like, he adds value to the Nets, like makes it way better, especially since he can play home games. I don't know. That's what I was thinking.
No, you're kind of hitting on how I feel about this. I don't know why Kyrie Irving isn't in more trade rumors.
I
Just
don't know
generally,
either.
I don't know why. I mean, he's come back, he's played a few games now. We see that he is in game shape, and he's still Kyrie Irving. It's not like
Yeah,
he's taken a dip in the games that he
yeah,
has played. And
yeah.
I just don't understand why he wouldn't be in more trade rumors. I mean, the way I see it is, with Kevin Durant's injury, they really need
Mm-hmm,
Harden. I don't think they can
mm-hmm.
afford to trade Harden at the deadline,
True.
because we know that Ben Simmons isn't going to bring it offensively. And I think they
No.
need Harden for the rest of the regular season. The way I see
Yeah,
it is, okay, Harden's not happy. And you touched on all the points, like why. Also, like, New York state taxes versus like zero state taxes in Texas. And
yeah,
obviously, like, I wouldn't be happy with Kyrie Irving either if I was on that team. So
yeah,
I can't really
yeah,
blame him for that. But I think the way I would see it, if I'm the Nets, it's like, okay, he's not happy, but we have like 5 months to change that.
yeah,
So
yeah,
why not work on that? Get rid of the
yeah,
guy that's not making him happy because he can only play part-time anyways,
yeah.
and go from there. Like, I just don't see from the Nets perspective why they would trade James Harden. I think this is my little, like, Cathryn conspiracy hat a little bit.
I love it. I love it.
I
I should have
I
gotten the
think
tinfoil.
yes. I think the 76ers are deliberately inserting themselves into this rumor that James Harden isn't happy in an effort to drive Ben Simmons's price up.
Yeah. Which is that does sound like big brain move. That's something Daryl Morey would do. I think so.
Yeah, he went on Philadelphia Talk Radio, which is a
Yeah.
choice,
Yes,
last
that is a choice.
week
Yeah.
to talk about Ben Simmons. There's different interpretations of what he was really trying to say in the interview. The general consensus is that he was trying to lower people's expectations while
Yeah.
still trying to say, like, we're looking, we just haven't had the right offer, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Saying things like top 40 player instead of top 30 player.
Yeah.
I think he's been waiting out for a superstar to be unhappy, but in my humble opinion, I don't think Ben Simmons is a superstar. Not that he isn't a good player, but I don't think he's a superstar. I
Yeah,
think
I
they're
mean,
overrating him.
I think superstar is such a subjective
Yes, it is.
term. Like, do you know what I mean? It sort of gets thrown around. Like, there are certain things that just get. We live in such an era of platitudes, like and overuse of words. Like, 6 years ago it was epic. These days it's goat. Like everything's the
Yes.
goat. And you're like, you do know what GOAT stands for,
Or
right?
iconic. Like, why is everything iconic now?
Oh my God. Or for a while there, people are like generational wealth, and that just kept on getting thrown around. And you're like, do you know how many hundreds and hundreds of millions generational wealth is? Anyways, I digress. So I think superstar is such a subjective term. I don't as well think he's a superstar, because I think there are 5 superstars. Like, I think
Yes.
that's about it, and he's just not one of them. And that's not a knock on him. I think you could be a top 10 player in this league and not be a superstar. Superstar is like somebody who like changes the trajectory of your team pretty much on their own. Pretty much. Do you know what I mean? And he's just not one of those guys. So I think you're right. I think it's a big brain move by Daryl, a little bit, but I also think it's a good opportunity. The friend of mine floated that Kyrie thing to me, like as soon as they said that he wasn't going to be playing home games. They're like, why don't you trade him to Philly? It solves 2 problems, So I do think that the reason that he might not be involved in more trade talks, which is sort of like one of those things where it's because he's obviously tight with KD. You know what I mean? And I think that he's almost like intrinsically tied to him. Like by trading him, it might jeopardize the relationship with KD as well for future. But I mean, we saw DeMar get traded from the Raptors, so the winning cures everything. So I don't know.
That's true. I mean, I think like, and this isn't a knock on DeMar, but I think when we got Kawhi Leonard and Danny Green for him and Jakob Poeltl, it was just like we won the trade. And like it was just like we won the trade, and it was we lucked out because there was an unhappy superstar and they weren't Daryl Morey in San Antonio, so they were willing to make a deal. But I think with Ben Simmons, it's like you don't actually know if he's going to improve your team.
No, I mean, he really is an amazing defender, and his like assists to 3 points made is really impressive. Like, there's a lot that like it's hard to say. Like, the thing is that people have such recency bias that I think that I definitely think it's true about him offensively. It's unbelievable for a guard, for a non-big, basically, like how many shots he doesn't. Like, he needs to be like a foot from the rim to take a shot. It's absurd, but also like he was a really, really good player as well. And maybe some other things were awry. It's one of those situations in Philly where it feels like everyone was wrong. Like, literally,
1,000%. Everyone is
nobody
wrong.
Was not at fault here. Everybody dealt with this terribly, and it could have been for any number of reasons, with the pressure and all eyes on them, and they severely fell behind expectations. But Doc, Daryl, Ben, all wrong. I think they all handled it terribly.
I completely agree. Everybody's wrong. I mean, it was making me laugh back in like October, November when like Rich Paul is on the sidelines of Lakers games with Adele. And I'm like, your client is in crisis right now. Like, why aren't you there?
Yeah.
Like, I just couldn't get over that. And I mean, I do think everybody's wrong. I mean, at this point, it's like, I think Daryl Morey just needs to be the bigger person and get it over with. Other people are going to disagree. People will say, no, he needs to hold out for somebody really, really great. I personally, and I might be guilty of recency bias. I'm just going to admit my own bias here. I might be guilty of that, but I'm also like on team, like, are you really going to waste a year of Embiid's prime?
Yeah,
because
that's the other
he is
thing,
playing like MVP level basketball right now.
100%.
To be like, no, I'm going to go the whole year with Ben Simmons at home and then hope I can get James Harden in a sign and trade over the summer is such a crazy risk. I mean, especially too, because like Embiid is like a little injury prone.
That's the other, I was just going to say that. That's the thing. Like, and I, cross our hearts, hopefully, like he has a very, very healthy career. We all hope for that. But like, I think a little injury prone is like erring on the side of like being polite. Like it's he's extremely, he's extremely injury prone. So just to watch him just ball out one year, you're like, this is it. It could be this year and maybe a bit next year. This is it. Go for it. Because it's really difficult to win with a guy who only plays like an average of like 55 games a season or something like that. Like it's ridiculous. It's probably 60 something, but So the other thing that I kind of laugh at with the Daryl Morey thing, because it just reminds me of somebody who knows that they're wrong but wants to bring everybody else like kind of like in with them because they don't want to admit it, is when he came out and he said that. He's like, I think we were all a little bit at fault. Yes, a little bit, Daryl, I agree, but that's not the way to present it. Like, you don't ever walk into an argument after it's done and you're trying to like sort of lower the tension and be like, you know what, I think we were all a bit wrong. No, you open up the dialogue with, hey guys, my bad on that part. Okay, let's start with that. And then people might be more receptive to sort of coming to the table. You don't come to the table with like, I'm wrong, but so were you.
And here's why. Talk radio.
And here's why. Yeah, talk radio, exactly.
Okay, so aside from the Ben Simmons saga, which I hope for all our sakes does get resolved, although I'm not hopeful. Who else in the league are you hoping will make a move this year? You think should make a move? Are you anticipating? Who else do you have your eye on?
So I had a few teams that I was thinking of. One that I sort of look at that's pretty obvious to everyone, but I don't think it gets brought up enough, to be honest, is Dallas. Like, Dallas is like, what are you even doing, man? You came back and nothing got better. I don't think that, and he is playing better. I don't think Porzingis is like, he's got an albatross of a contract and he's playing better. So whatever, just swallow that one. But maybe if you get something for Hardaway Jr., like, I don't know what that would be, but that feels
I don't he injured himself the other night and I don't know how long he's out for. But
I know. Yeah,
I didn't look that up. But yeah, no, you're right. I mean, Dallas is one. Okay, there's a team that, they have made a deal already, but I think should make more, are the Hawks. Like, I was 100%. So excited for the Atlanta Hawks this year. I think they're 12th in the East. 12th. Yeah. Like, it's like they're not even in the plan.
I know.
It's shocking.
And it's just down at a game, actually. Just the other. That is a really nice arena. That's all I want to say about that. It's not very full. The fan base is like, for those who are there, very passionate. I will give them that. But I think they made the arena way too big. Because as soon as I got in, I'm like, wow, this thing's only like maybe 60% full. And it's especially in the lower bowl. They have like a barber shop in there. They have like a whole concourse of like restaurants that you can go see. There's so much to do there that isn't basketball. So maybe that was part of the problem. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, wow.
Like you can go to a barber shop, you can go sit down and eat. It's like, okay, guys, like, like it's going to look real bad on the broadcast when nobody's sitting in their seats. But then also, like, not everyone was there. So like on top of the fact, it's not like people were sitting eating at restaurants or whatever.
Would you get your hair done at an arena?
Something tells me it wasn't for me. It's not. I went and had a look and I was like, you know what? I don't think I'm the target demo here. So I'm gonna
Right.
But I don't know. I might. I'm a typical guy when it comes to hair. Like I pick the person and then I stay with them for my whole life. And then if they ever move, I have an emotional crisis.
Right.
I can't. Yeah. So, but yes, the Hawks. Back to that. That was a bit of a digression.
No, I love having multiple tangents pretty much every episode here. So that's all good. I mean, the other team that really, the Hawks is just me throwing my hands up in the air and being like, I don't know what to do with this team. But another team that really intrigues me is the Portland Trailblazers. Because they're at a critical crossroads here.
Yeah.
And, CJ McCullough's back now after having a collapsed lung, which is incredible that he's back. But Damian Lillard's out for 6-8 weeks from the point he had the surgery. But I think it probably makes sense to sit him for the remainder of the season. I don't think it
100%.
makes sense to rush Lillard back, and I don't think they will. And, it's one of those teams where they're like, you know what, we can just call it for the rest of this season, but then try and get some really good pieces back next season and keep building around Lillard. Or they can be like, you know what, this is it. I feel like this trade deadline is the moment to really decide who they are and who they're going to be for the next 3 to 5 years. And that there's something about that I find really intriguing. I have a feeling that they're not going to blow it up, but I don't think that that's the right call.
I don't know that that's the right decision either, but I think I understand if you're right in the middle of that, how you would be hesitant to blow that up. Like even from a distance, as Portland, the Trailblazers feel like one of those teams that like very few people hate, except for maybe OKC. You know what I mean? Like there's not a lot of fan bases. They're very likable, and I think most people, even outside of their fandom, really would like to see, if it's not their team, Damian Lillard win the championship with them. Would have liked to have seen that. That doesn't look very likely. And just because of the loyalty thing and just everything, it was a lot of fun. But I completely agree. It's probably in everyone's best interest to sort of call it. It's just time to call it. It's probably we also live in this era where, and I don't know when this started, but it's been for the past 10 years or so, where it's like championship or bust, which is not untrue, but I don't think anything that comes short of a championship is necessarily unsuccessful. And that's the way we sort of, as a collective sort of deem things. Like for instance, I don't view the DeMar and Kyle years as unsuccessful. I mean, most of that core stayed on and won a championship in 2019, but that's still those are my fondest memories of the franchise, are DeMar and Kyle.
You're right. I mean, even if we never won a championship, you couldn't say that it wasn't a solid run. I mean, same with like those Memphis Grizzly days with Gasol and Zebo and it's like that was a solid run that they had. You can't be mad at it. I agree. It's like you can't call it unsuccessful, but you might want to call it. Okay, this is a bit of a shady question, but do you think the Washington Wizards will be like, Bradley Beal, we don't care if you want to stay. We don't care if you want to be a one-team guy forever.
That's real nice, man.
We got to move on.
I hope so, man. I hope so.
We're doing this for you.
It's like Lassie. Taken up behind the shed. Except he continues on. Or like, what's a movie where they're like, they bring an animal back to the woods that's like, what was that Sasquatch movie? Harry and the Hendersons?
I don't think that's a movie.
Yeah, it was with, what's his name from Third Rock from the Sun? Harry and the... Anyways, it's not worth staying on. Point is, it's like when you bring
John
like
Lithgow?
Animal, I think so, yeah. I honestly, he's not like a name that I know, but obviously, he's a very recognizable actor. But like when you bring an animal to the woods and you have to be mean to it to like get it back, and you're like, go on, get out of here, get back. I don't
like
even
Free
like
Willy.
you
maybe is Free Willy a good example? Where we're like, we're trying to put you back into the wild, like you must leave us. Which is so funny because as if animals in real life would ever act that way. Like in real life, they are gone, But in the movies, it's like they have this like really weird attachment to us still. That's a great example. Free Willy, Free Bradley.
They can even have that moment where he's jumping over the rock, into another franchise.
Yes. I'm not much of a video editor, but if I was, I'd make it happen. I might even have a Michael Jackson song in the background just for old time's sake.
Oh man, that was a jam. I forgot about that song. That was so good.
It was really good.
Another one I had really quickly was the Knicks just sort of, and this is more, I just want to preface this. This is more in the best interest of both parties, who I don't think. Anyways, it's Julius Randle and the Knicks, and the reason is it's not that I think that Julius Randle is not. I think he's probably somewhere maybe not to the level of last season, but not as bad as this season either. But having said that, either Knicks fans have to like sort of get their shit together and stop putting so much pressure on all of their players, or and just accept that this is not like a faux contender that they think it is. That's like a fun, scrappy team that might make it to the conference finals. It's not that team, and it hasn't been that team. And I don't know why, I understand that it's been a long time since you've seen any success, but this is not that roster. And maybe, and the reason I think moving on from Randall is they could definitely get a decent haul on him. There's still the sheen from last season. He's not completely tarnished, and he can go have a successful career somewhere where he's not on the cover of New York Post every other day with some terrible pun, like that's serious. And New Yorkers are awesome, but they are also ruthless. Like he could just be getting his bacon, egg, cheese in the morning, and they'll be like screaming at him from across, Fifth Ave or wherever they are.
Yeah, no, we all know how crazy they are. That's an interesting one because I don't see the Knicks moving from Randall, but I don't disagree with you that that's something that they should consider. I mean, what they should really consider, aside from Julius Randle specifically, but I think more generally, is that they need to get younger. Like they have a lot of core players on very different timelines. And it's like, like Derrick Rose still being like one of your top players in 2022 is not growth.
Yeah.
It's not the worst thing in the world, but it isn't growth.
100%.
And I think if they got younger, and then just if they could, I think I was listening to the No Dunks guys talking about this, if I'm not mistaken, just about how they need to be faster. Like they're just really slow on every transition. And I think they need to just get younger generally.
I think so too. And you made me think of that because you're like Derrick Rose is still on the team, and how like Tibbs like just keeps on hiring like the Bulls over and over again. But wouldn't Tibbs be?
Is Tibbs a good coach without Derrick Rose? That's the real.
That's the real question. He's like a typical trauma survivor. Like he just like keeps revisiting it. He's like, no, this is the time. This is the time. This is just like a random aside, but every time I see Tibbs, I'm like, that's a guy who loves a good soup and sandwich, like special at a diner, right? Like you're like, that guy gets the soup and sandwich special every time.
Yeah.
And I want to go get a soup and sandwich with Tibbs so badly. I think he'd be like a
beer. Do you think there's a beer there too?
I don't know. See, I think he's like a black tea type of guy. You know those black tea? You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
I think that's him, and he's just like sitting there alone, like in a booth. No one in front of him. You can just see the steam coming off of his black tea. It's like a tuna sandwich. I think tuna and like tomato soup, like some weird combo.
Interesting.
Like that.
I pictured him as a deli meat guy.
For sure, he could be a deli meat guy too. I think he could be a deli meat guy. Like
if Montreal had a team, he would live off of those Montreal smoked meat sandwiches.
Yeah. Also the turkey ones too. The turkey sandwich at a deli is very underrated.
And for him, that would just be like his healthy day.
Oh yeah, 100%. And he just like has like general like just like chips the rest of the day.
This needs to be a whole like off-season episode that I do, is just coaches and sandwiches.
Yeah.
What sandwich goes with each coach's personality? This is the kind of thing I would absolutely spend an entire episode on.
Oh yeah. Like what would Nick would be like trying to think of what Nick feels like a real good Midwestern sandwich. I'm trying to think of what that would be. Like
I don't know what a Midwestern sandwich would be.
Like a deep fried mozzarella stick sandwich.
I was trying to picture some like chicken barbecue sauce scenario.
No, that's South Midwest. I'm talking
That's
like
too south.
Rust Belt. Like I'm talking something like
It's
you're
like a
gonna have to get
potato
the most.
sandwich.
Yeah, potato sandwich exactly. Potatoes and mozzarella sticks with ketchup.
Oh my God. Okay. That this has to be a mid-August episode. Like it just has to
Yeah,
be.
100%.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
100%.
Okay. The other NBA question I wanted to ask you is, aside from watching the Raptors, of course, who's your league pass team? Who else are you really excited for this year?
The Miami Heat for sure. I mean, it probably started a bit because of Kyle going there, but I had done a little bit of work with Bam at a bio there. I did a jersey for him. Yeah, I just think that they're a really good team. Like they have like good wing defenders, like they can do drop coverage. Like I think they have everything I think that people are underrating them because of I mean, they're in first right now, right? Aren't they?
Yes.
They're tied for first. But even so, like I
Yeah,
still
or
think
like a
that
half game and
yeah.
a half game ahead, I think, or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think because the Bulls won last night, they're tied or half game ahead. Yeah, exactly. Anyways, I still think that now it's weird to say that Miami is like not getting a lot of attention because they certainly are, because they're Miami and they're like a cool quote unquote franchise.
Mhm.
But I think that people aren't really taking them as seriously as the other contenders, in my opinion, because I think that they're built to be really successful in the playoffs.
I was actually having this conversation earlier with friends. Shout out Matt McCready fully messaged me this morning being like, the Heat are going to win. This is my bold prediction. Fight me. No, he didn't say that, but it had that energy to it. No, but you know what? Like the Heat are so strong. And the thing with them is that they have so much depth. This is what I realized in terms of like their title odds or favoritism, if you will. Like they have these like supporting players that can just really go off and win you a game. And when I think about yes, or Duncan or even Hero, like those are guys that can randomly go off for over 20 points a game. Not average, but just like have like a night where they do that. And when I think about like the Raptors championship run, like that's what we had. Like we had these supporting players that could just really, really go off one night, and it takes that little bit of pressure off your core guys. And I think, they have, to me, those are like the other difference makers, if you will.
Yes,
and
100%.
the Heat absolutely have that. And I still really like the Bucks, and I think Giannis is so special, and I think we'll look back at his career as one of the greatest ever. But he is carrying more this year, and it's possible. I'm not predicting it, but I mean, it's possible that he could get a little worn down as the playoffs go on.
That was one of my trade ones that I was thinking as well, was the Bucks. And this guy has been really good, but Nora, they might be able to get something for him, because I don't want to say he's not redundant, but it's sort of been like he's also been a bit up and down. Not very down, but it's not been like the consistent path. But he's a very young player. I think he's going to have a great career. But I think that if they can maybe get somebody who can fill some of their gaps and take some of that pressure off of Giannis. So that's funny that you say that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right. Like anything they can do to upgrade their depth is going to help them tremendously. Yeah, it's funny. There's a lot of like pretty good teams that have really big aspirations that are unhappy. And I think, I think this year we are actually going to have an active trade deadline. Like I would be shocked if we didn't see a lot of moves come that day, not just because of the media rumors, but just because I feel strongly that a lot of the motivations are really there.
Yeah. Do you think it's going to be, remember it was the 2018 trade deadline where everybody was starting to like everybody at the top of the East was starting to, the Sixers got, Jimmy at the trade deadline. We picked up Marc Gasol.
Oh yeah, that was a big one. Yeah.
It was a big one. It was like an arms race. You could see it. It was just like boom, 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 boom. And it was all those four teams at the top of the East.
Yeah, that's a great year to compare it to. I definitely think we're
Yep.
gonna see something like that. I mean, I hope we do, not just for my own entertainment value, but because
Yeah.
I really think that these teams are itching for it, and it would be disappointing if they just decided, a lot of these teams, if they just decided to call it.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Yeah.
with that, let's move on to what I call our Raptors Homer Moment segment in this show.
Yeah.
Speaking of trades, do you think the Raptors should make any moves? Goran Dragic aside, I think we all know that that's going to be either a trade or a buyout situation. But him aside, like, do you think the Raptors should try anything this year?
I think so, but I think just given the people that I work with, I won't bite the hand that feeds too much. But I
Sure,
think,
sure, sure, sure.
you know what I mean. But I will say that Goran, we could get something cool back, like maybe Gordon or something. I mean, Goran would 100% have to be packaged with some
Eric Gordon,
picks.
is
Eric
that what you
Gordon,
mean?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I think that certainly helps some of our offense off of the bench, right? Because I think I don't know what he shoots from three, but it's good because I'm an artist, so I don't remember those stats, but it's
That's
good.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
No, that's a good one. I hadn't thought of that. I mean, for me, and again, this is just my own bias. I just get too emotionally attached to everyone with the Raptors.
100%.
Like
Yeah,
any other team, I'm just like, trade this guy, get rid of this guy,
yeah,
like trade Kyrie, I don't care. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
like when it
I
comes
know.
to the Raptors, I can't do it as easily. It also too, I think back to the very beginning of the season where, Masai specifically said, like, this is a rebuild year.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And, we are overachieving, I think,
Hmm.
in the regular season, which is classic us.
Hmm.
Classic Raptors overachieving in the regular season. Nothing wrong with that. But
But that's
for
also why it's hard to cut from these. That's why you get so emotionally attached to these
yes,
people as well, because
yes.
you're like, you go getters. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm just like, if this is a rebuild
Yeah,
year,
yeah,
let's really, look at who we have and try to build them as far as we think they can go. Because to me, it's like everybody's talking about the play-in, and obviously, like, I'd love to see the Raptors in the play-in, but I'm not going to be crushed if we don't make it.
no, no, not really.
Just this year.
Well,
Because
I know that
I'd
they,
already set myself up as it's a rebuild year, so I didn't give
yeah,
myself the expectation of going further, if that makes sense.
yeah, yeah. I for their sake, I hope they do make it, because I know that that's a real goal of theirs. To really prove that, despite being such a young team, I think that were it not for Goron, we might be the second youngest, if not the youngest roster in the whole league.
Right.
So like, people underrate, and people have been with these, like, OG sort of got that Jason Tatum thing going on, where only in reverse, I feel like, or maybe not. Anyways, point is, people forget how young OG is. He's like he's like 23 or something
I'm like, in
ridiculous.
reverse, like, does Tatum
Well,
look
because everybody
baby?
would say that everybody would say that Tatum, you'd forget that he was like 18 years old. And the running joke was, like, with Celtics fans, is year after year, they're like, Andy's only 18. Like, he just never aged.
Right, right, right.
But there's a bunch of guys that have been familiar faces on this team, and we forget are fairly young. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And we've just gotten used to seeing them. So for their sake, I hope that they make it. But speaking personally, would I think that this team didn't meet expectations if it didn't make the play in? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that's totally fine. I think that everything I've wanted to see as a barometer for success so far, I've seen. Like, it's great.
Mhm.
Um, the development, Scotty's been great. I would just like to see some traction with Malachi for his sake, because again, you get attached to these guys, and just see him, do some numbers when he gets down in the 905. He had a couple good games recently.
Yeah, I
Uh,
heard his dad was popping off and people got some screenshots on Reddit, but I didn't look.
I don't know.
But I was told.
People are the worst sometimes. Um, but and from all
Just
angles,
can't
the
his
worst.
dad be in his feelings in
Yes.
private, in public.
I know. So that's the problem. So that's why I'm like from all angles, because on the one hand, you're like, oh my God, Eric, just don't say this publicly, man.
I
What
love
are
that
you
I know
doing?
his dad's name now.
I know, right? But then on the other end, you're like, you get it. I get it. You're his dad, man, and you want him to do well. And dads never stop being dads, and parents never stop being parents. I have to stop my mom all the time, all the time.
Is
From
she
like
like,
calling
is
up.
she like in message boards? Like,
no, but she sees comments sometimes and she
oh,
like wants
wow.
to reply, and I'm like, no, don't, just, those people are sad. There was one thing for comments that always like that made me stop worrying about people in comments. I'm just gonna share it in case it helps anyone else. And it was like, do you think Michael Jordan would have left YouTube comments? And then when somebody said that to me, I was like, aha, that's right. That's it. Nobody leaves mean comments unless they're like not happy about something else.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Jordan, who's like the most successful basketball player of all time, does not have time to worry about what people are saying in the comments, or for him to leave comments as well.
Mm-hmm.
So just leave it be. But yeah, for Eric Flynn, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
Yeah, I mean, I want to see, how far Malachi can go. I mean, Nick Nurse talked about in his interview with JJ Redick on their podcast, Old Man and the Three, about how he thinks about winning first, and then he thinks about increasing players' value in the marketplace. So, those are his priorities. And I do trust that. Like, I do see that unfold, even though we were complaining about the minutes for Fred and Pascal and stuff. And it's like, sure, but like, this is a tough road trip. And if we don't, we need them to play those minutes to be able to have a chance at winning these games. And we saw that. So,
100%.
Yeah, I do think now, Fred's been resting a bit right now, and we are going to see more minutes from these guys. I really want to see them grow. I really want to see how far they can go. Like, I know a lot of people are talking like, Chris Boucher could be a really good trade asset right now. I'm not going to say he isn't, but I'm too attached.
Yeah.
To be oh, this is who we could get for Chris Boucher. I don't want to get anybody for Chris Boucher. I want Chris Boucher.
Yeah, that's what I tell people. I'm like, I am the worst. I think I've said it on a few Twitter things. Like, I might say like, oh God, we gotta shoot better, and then some people might like jump in and be like, what the is going on with it? I have to send out a PSA, like, guys, public service announcement. I work with a lot of these people. I am the worst person to talk to about this stuff. Not because I take it personally, but because you will not get a response from me. Like, you just won't. Like,
yeah, of course,
I can't. So yeah, Chris. Chris is such a dope guy. I did his Bonjour hoodie for the parade, for the championship parade. He had a hoodie on where it was like him doing the shrug, and I did his So and he's been great. It's, just the
has been great.
We need. I love his trebuchet. The best. It's like this. Makes no sense as form, but it goes in.
But it's him. And he's also someone with an inspiring story, and that's another reason.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's the other thing. The Raptors have been, as an organization, have been really good at telling those stories, whether it be like through Open Gym, which is within the MLSE umbrella, or even things like Uninterrupted, which is a separate entity entirely. But that's, I think, by telling those stories, it makes it more compelling as well, like watching the sport. But it does make it very difficult to be like you said, like people being like, can we get a good return on Chris Boucher? And you're like, no, he made it here from Saint Hubert. We
might maybe if you're just looking at numbers, but if you're looking at my feelings, absolutely not.
Yeah, which is
I don't even care if that's the girliest NBA take anyone has ever heard. I don't even care.
It is not, because I mean it may be, but I have it as well. I'm the exact same way. Because I get attached to these people. That's why I'm an artist. You know what I mean?
That's why you're an artist.
I draw them, and then I try to sort of tell the story, like I did with Pascal's memory pendant. I made that thing where it was he and his late father.
Oh,
And
wait, did you do that?
yeah, I made his
Oh
memory
my
pendant
God, I loved
with a
that.
jeweler here, and yeah.
Oh,
So
that was so sweet.
yeah, like that's the type of stuff where I'm like, that's what makes the story compelling to me. Like that's what I want to know about, because I'm invested now. Like I'm in awe of what people can do, like out there on the court. And that's all very interesting to me as well. The X's, the O's, the cool uniforms and all that type of stuff. But I think number one for me is the human side of the story, and then that's how I get people invested. There's so many people in my life that might like come into my orbit and just know that I really like basketball, and then they might watch a game with me somewhere. I'll be like, oh, him, so he da 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 da, and then I'll tell them the story of Pascal, and they'll be like, he was playing in Mexico State, and you know what I mean, New Mexico State, and blah blah blah, and his father passed away, and then now they're basketball fans because they
Right.
sort of have that extra bit of knowledge that makes things interesting, right?
Yeah, that's so great. Okay, question for you. This is
Mm-hmm.
this is personal, probably only to me, but I hope there are others listening that also care as well. And that
Yeah.
is, I hate the coaches' uniforms.
Oh
I
yeah.
I hate these
Yeah, me too.
horrible, brown zip ups.
Yeah,
Like, I mean, brown's not even a Raptors color. I don't
I know.
understand it. It's driving me crazy as somebody who, if you're new to the show, legitimately has a crush on Nick Nurse. Okay, we'll dive into that some other time. And I wanted to
Cool.
ask you, you design all these cool things for various Raptors players, as we've talked about. If you
Yeah.
had a chance to design a new coach's uniform,
Yeah,
what
yeah,
would
yeah.
it be?
I think that they should be wearing the uniform like the baseball managers do. No, I'm just kidding. That would be awesome though. If they had to come out like in the uniform as well, like Nick Nurse, like in the shorts and the jersey. It's got like a shooting sleeve on. Like, what is with baseball in doing that, by the way? That is the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
It's such an old sport that, like, the
Yeah.
clothes are still old timey too.
Yeah, but then you'll have these guys like with huge guts coming out, like, and they're in their 60s, so it's whatever. I'm not body shaming them, but like, you can't be wearing the same uniform as like Guerrero. Like, you just can't be wearing it. You look ridiculous in it. Anyways, I don't. Okay, so yes, I would love to do that. That would be super dope, because I do agree that I can't think of who we were playing, but I'm gonna say it was OKC, because I think, anyways, their coaching staff was wearing like these charcoal like quarter zips and like basically khaki pants or something like that,
Yeah.
and they just looked like fans that were standing up on the sidelines. Like, they didn't have
Yes.
any OKC, nothing. It wasn't the right colors or anything like that. I understand where the coaches are probably coming from, because especially Nick, who's always out there doing squats, always thinking of the person. I'm not sure if you saw that, but it's because he doesn't want to block the person
Yeah,
who's
I did
behind him.
see that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was such a thoughtful
It
guy.
adds to his charm, that
It
answer.
adds to his charm. So I understand they're out there. They don't want to be in suits, but suit technology has improved so much. They're so breathable and stretchy now. Why don't we get some of these fashion houses, especially with the league being like, Gary Trent, like, it's so the walk into the locker room has become a runway basically, which is awesome. I love that. Why don't we get the coaches like sponsored by some fashion houses, like, and get them to do like, and I'm not talking about like runway of Paris Fashion Week or Milan Fashion Week. I mean, like, like it's like suiting from you know, a regular ready to wear part of the line. Like, for instance, D Squared. D Squared is a Toronto brand. We can get them in it. It can breathable for when fans come back, or they can wear something a little bit warmer, because I hear Scotiabank is frigid cold with no one in there. They could maybe get scarves on them. We look way better. They look like the guys from like the Premier League, like
The
on the
fact that
side.
we're not wearing scarves
The fact
after
that we're
our
not wearing
big
scarves,
viral moment. alone
right now is disappointing. We should both be wearing scarves right now.
We should be wearing scarves on this podcast.
We should be wearing scarves all the time. Yeah.
In our homes.
Yeah.
No, but you're absolutely right. Like, this is what I want. I want this for you. I also just want this for the world. Like, I want you to design the new coach's uniform. Maybe it's just like, and I'm just putting this idea out there, but like, maybe you just like will it into existence. Like, you just put up like a mock-up of something and you just put it online, and then maybe it'll catch on. And then they'll be like, hey, I actually want to wear this.
It's worked so far. I can do it.
Oh my God.
I don't know what I would do if it worked.
I love how I'm just giving you work to do.
like I don't have like 1,000 different things going on right now. Yeah, sometimes people are like, hey, I asked you about making that jersey the other day. And I'm like, for you alone? Like, I don't know where you think I'm going to have the time to do that. Yeah, I don't know what I would do. Like, I guess the other way to go, if you want to go complete opposite direction of suiting, which I think is like very professional look, you could do like the 1996 like warm-ups. I don't know if it was exactly 1996, but when you think of those old like 90s warm-ups that were like a
Raptors warm-up, like with the purple and the
do something like really crazy, that they just have to wear, like, for something like or like the Orlando Magic one that if you think of a Magic Shack back in
like the pinstripes.
That would look ridiculous on them though. so I don't know. I'm onto the suiting thing, because that way you don't have to rely on the coaches to pick the suits, because those guys know about the X's and O's and running plays. They don't know how to pick a good suit. Remember Dwayne Casey's suits?
I was just going to say, well, with all those squats, maybe he can just wear it oversized like Casey. And then he'll have all that room.
So he looks like MC Hammer out there.
Yeah, it's like almost a zoot suit. Like, it's like it's almost there.
That guy was such a good man, though. I love Casey.
So do I. I mean, this is just, I'm just putting it out there in the universe. Maybe it'll happen someday. Maybe it won't. My only request would be a jersey dress. That's what I want. I want a jersey dress. I don't wear jersey. I find like I look very boxy in jerseys, so I don't buy jerseys. I'm more of a Raptors crop hoodie kind of girl myself. Yeah. But if the jersey dress ever made a comeback, even if it looked ridiculous on me, I would just have so much fun wearing it.
The Mariah Carey jersey dress. I'm into that big time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like a Beyonce one. Didn't Beyonce have one? Or was that like a jersey like?
So Destiny's Child did like a performance. Was it a halftime performance? I'm not sure. Yes, I think it was a halftime performance, and I recall them getting booed because one of the three wore the opposing team's uniform, because they were trying to be like one girl is one team, one girl's the other team, and one girl's just like NBA neutral.
Yeah.
I don't. Oh, that's such a vague.
Was it in Philly? That feels like something Philly would be.
Yeah, it was. Maybe it was like LA and Philly. Maybe it was that year.
Yeah.
Oh, bless.
Yeah. No, I think those are dope. Yeah.
All right, Casey, it is time for our Hot Girls Summer Nick Nurse highlight of the week. And, this is a dying segment. This is just by my own admission. Some weeks we get some real good ones. And some weeks I am really like, there's just nothing, because we don't have the suits like he used to wear. He used to wear a lot of patterns, a lot of textures. Yes. And now we just don't get any of that anymore. So this segment, it's just like, I'm keep on keeping on, but every week I'm like, this could be the last one. But anyway, this week we got an excellent one, because
huge one. New heritage moment dropped.
Yes. Because Nick Nurse is guest starring on an episode of Murdoch Mysteries. And there's a clip of him on Twitter in like the old timey dress. And it is, oh my God, it's so adorable. It's so humorous. It's so, oh my God, it's so WTF. I felt so many emotions. I think I definitely screamed out loud when I saw the image. It's very exciting. This is Nick Nurse's second guest starring appearance. He was on an episode of Private Eye, which I never caught. He's really going
Nick
for
is hilarious. Like he's like an honorary member of the Arcals. He's on 2 CBC shows. Like I don't know where.
And ACTRA apparently. No I'm kidding. I don't know.
Like it's incredible. Did you know about this? Did you know about this beforehand, or did this just like pop up?
This popped up in my sphere last night about the Murdoch Mysteries thing.
Okay.
It is on Twitter. Okay. So the star of Murdoch Mysteries, I think his name's Yannick something. He posted this clip with him and Nick Nurse, or the Murdoch Mysteries account posted it. I don't remember. But it was on Twitter last night. I'm not like an insider.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Maybe there was some sort of CBC insider or something like that you might have seen it.
No, I wish I was a Nick Nurse insider. But I think he would hate that because then I just come on this podcast and tell everybody. But no, it was on Twitter last night and I was losing my mind. So maybe I'll have to tune in to Murdoch Mysteries. It'll air on Monday, I think they said. So funny. I wonder if he's so like, because it's like, this is particularly funny because he's going to be a character. Like he's not playing himself.
Yeah.
Right. I think in the episode of Private Eye, he's an equipment manager.
In Murdoch Mysteries. Yeah. I think he's like some sort of like basketball, like gymnasium equipment manager or something.
It's just him with like a bunch of peach baskets. He's like stacking the peach basket.
Does it even match timeline wise? Like
I don't know. Because
he's got the old basketball, I think before dribbling, where it had the leather rivets on it. Is that the right word for it? Do you know what I mean?
Maybe.
Like
yeah.
And he's got the newsboy cap and everything like that. Yeah, it's it's pretty awesome.
Maybe we need to get Nick in like a James Naismith biopic.
Well, that's why it was like Heritage Moment just dropped, because it reminded me of the one of the peach baskets. And it was have you watched that recently, by the way? It's hilarious.
I have not watched that particular Heritage Moment recently, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
I think we are remembering them a little bit better than they actually are. Like some of the cuts on them are so weird. Like for that James Naismith one, there's like the odd fixation at the end about the guy like having to push it out, like having to get up in a ladder to get the basketball
to get the ball out.
And he's like, you should cut a hole in the bottom. And then there's like, and that takes up, because they're only like 45 seconds long or something like that, right? And that takes up like 15 seconds. And you're like, who decided that made the cut? Like the janitor telling them. And the other thing is they don't cut a hole in the bottom, like as if like big enough for it to just fall through. It's just a tiny hole, so he can take his broom handle and poke it back out.
Poke it.
Yeah. Like I guess back then they didn't think of like the circumference of the ball, so it could just fall through. There were some weird Heritage moments, including the Winnie the Pooh one. That was also a weird one. That was like
I don't remember that one as well. I remember obviously the Superman one. I think that one got
the Superman one,
and then I remember the Laura Secord one.
Oh,
of
I
her like in the woods, like running
that.
away from like these soldiers or something.
Where is Laura Secord these days? I'm talking about the ice cream now. Where is it? I have not seen Laura Secord in years. What happened?
I don't know. I'm sure the pandemic has not helped. I'm sure
they're gone. If there was even one left, we need like a documentary, sort of like the last blockbuster, but it's Canadian and it's the last Laura Secord. But yeah, there was like all these weird ones, like the
last
Superman
Laura
one.
Secord 30 for 30.
30 for 30, exactly.
Oh my goodness. Well, Casey, thank you so much for joining me. This has been so much fun. If you haven't yet, please vote for VanVleet for the All-Star game. I think they're announcing the starters tonight, but there's time to vote Or
No,
I
I
don't know.
think
Or do the
voting
coaches has the voting
now it's
ended?
coaches. Now it's voting has
Now it's just the
ended.
coaches. Well, forget what I just said. That's too bad. Well, I
Yeah.
hope if you're listening, I hope you did your part.
Yeah.
Because Fred deserves it.
Oh, Fred's gonna. I'm just gonna will it. Fred's gonna make it for sure. I think that
coaches love Fred. That's the thing. Coaches love Fred.
He lights up your team.
Yes.
They plan for something and they're like, oh crap, Fred VanVleet is just gonna will the opposing Raptors back into this game. So yeah, I think coaches and players as well. We need to get on a press tour and start sending out T-shirts to all of the coaches.
Yes, and maybe they'll wear it because they need something better to wear.
Here's the end. There we go. And then Fred and I can start outfitting all of the league's coaches in these like sweatsuits, but nicer. Casey, thank you again. If you're not following him yet, let us know, where can people find you on the internets? Yeah, at Casey Bannerman on both Twitter and Instagram. Instagram's got a lot more of my art, and Twitter has some of my musings as well as
more
of
your hot takes and your wordles, maybe.
yeah. No. I'm not bright enough for wordles.
Oh, it's all I tweet now. I used to be a comedian. Now I just play Wordle. Anyways, thank you again.
Thank you so much, Cathryn.